The first time I saw Vera Martinez, she was bleeding all over my pristine medical bay floor. What a charming introduction to humanity, I thought. Here I was, Keth-Nine-Seven, senior medical officer aboard the Conquest vessel Dominion's Edge, expecting another routine examination of a captured primitive. Instead, I got a one-armed human female who had the audacity to glare at me while her severed limb dripped crimson onto my polished metal deck. "Oh, fantastic," I muttered, my translator converting my clicks and whistles into their crude language. Another stubborn biped who thinks pain makes them heroic. The human, this Vera Martinez according to her identification chip, said nothing. She just sat there on my examination table, her remaining hand pressed against the cauterized stump where her right arm used to be. The wound was clean, almost surgical. Clearly the work of a plasma cutter during the initial raid on their pathetic settlement on Kepler 442b. I approached her with my scanner, expecting the usual cowering and begging that came with newly captured specimens. Instead, she watched me with those unsettling binocular eyes, calculating. Planning. As if she wasn't the prisoner here. "Your species really is remarkable," I said, activating the bioscanner. "Most sentients would be in shock after losing a primary appendage. Yet here you are, staring at me like you're planning my funeral arrangements." Still no response. How wonderfully rude, the scanner revealed what I already suspected: human physiology was absurdly resilient. Her cardiovascular system had already begun compensating for the blood loss. Her neural pathways were rerouting around the trauma. Her adrenal system was pumping combat stimulants through her bloodstream at levels that would kill most civilized species. Fascinating, I clicked, making notes on my pad. Your endocrine system is producing enough adrenaline to power a small shuttle. No wonder your kind fought so enthusiastically during the pacification efforts. That got a reaction. Her jaw tightened, and for a moment, I thought she might actually try to attack me with her remaining hand. How delightfully primitive. The pacification efforts, she finally spoke, her voice flat and cold. "Is that what you're calling the massacre of 3,000 colonists?" I paused my scanning. Massacre is such an emotional term. We prefer population adjustment. Much more clinical, don't you think? Her eyes narrowed. Oh, this one had fire in her. Most humans broke after witnessing their settlements burn. This Martinez female seemed to be cataloging every word I said, storing it away for future reference. Future revenge, perhaps? "Tell me, specimen," I continued, enjoying myself now. "What exactly were you doing when our forces arrived?" "According to the reports, you were found in some kind of mechanical workshop." "Engineering bay," she corrected. "I was working on agricultural automation systems." "Ah, a tinker. How quaint." I made another note. "Your species' obsession with primitive machinery never ceases to amuse us. Building little robots to tend your crops while we build starships that cross the galaxy." The medical bay fell silent except for the hum of my equipment. I completed my scan and reviewed the results. Typical human physiology: inefficient, fragile, laughably vulnerable to our energy weapons. Yet there was something in the neural patterns that gave me pause. Her brain activity was unusual. Not the scattered, panicked firing of a traumatized prisoner. More like the focused, purposeful patterns of someone deep in problem-solving mode. "Your neural activity is quite elevated," I observed. "Most captives at this stage show signs of psychological breakdown. You appear to be thinking. Rather intensely, in fact." She looked up at me then, and I felt an odd chill run through my exoskeleton. "Just wondering how long it took your people to develop plasma cutting technology." Curious question. "Why do you ask?" Professional interest. Her tone was casual, but those binocular eyes remained locked on mine. "We had plasma cutters too, you know. Smaller ones. For precision work on delicate components." I chittered in amusement. Your primitive tools are hardly comparable to our military-grade energy weapons. Oh, I'm sure they're much more powerful, she agreed. But I bet they work on the same basic principles. Electromagnetic containment field, superheated plasma channel, variable intensity controls. My scanning stopped. This human was displaying knowledge of advanced energy physics. That was unexpected. Our intelligence reports indicated that human technology was centuries behind our own. Interesting hypothesis, I said carefully. But theoretical knowledge and practical application are entirely different matters. True, she nodded. Though I suppose I'll have plenty of time to think about practical applications now. The way she said it made my tertiary nervous system twitch. There was something in her tone. Something that sounded almost like anticipation. I filed my preliminary report and assigned her to Detention Block 7 with the other human prisoners. Standard containment protocols, force field barriers, neural suppression collars, minimal sustenance. The usual amenities for a conquered species. 3 days later, my peaceful morning was interrupted by Warden Kelx-42's panic transmission. Medical Officer Keth-Nine-Seven, we have a situation in Detention Block 7. The Martinez specimen has been making requests. Requests? I asked, surprised. Most humans spent their first week in detention curled up in corners, sobbing about their lost homeworld. What kind of requests? She wants access to our fabrication units. Claims she can improve our food distribution systems. I laughed so hard I nearly molted. She wants to what? She says human digestive systems are incompatible with our standard nutrition blocks. She's offering to design supplements that would keep the prisoners healthier, reduce mortality rates. Apparently, dead prisoners are less valuable than living ones. My amusement faded. That was, actually logical. We had been losing prisoners at an alarming rate due to nutritional deficiencies. The medical department had been pressuring command to find a solution. Has anyone verified her claims about human dietary requirements? I ran a biochemical analysis on several prisoners. Her data appears accurate. Humans require specific amino acid combinations that our standard rations don't provide. I found myself genuinely intrigued. This Vera Martinez was proving far more interesting than the typical prisoner. Most captives spent their time planning escape attempts or nursing their grief. This one was apparently conducting nutritional research. Grant her limited access to a fabrication unit. Basic components only, nothing that could be weaponized. And maintain constant surveillance. Understood. There's one more thing, medical officer. Yes? She's also requested materials for a prosthetic arm. Claims the current prosthetics we provided are insufficient for detailed mechanical work. I paused. We had indeed provided her with a basic replacement limb. Standard synthetic muscle and bone, neural interface, full range of motion. It was superior to anything her species could produce. What exactly is insufficient about our prosthetics? According to her analysis, they lack fine motor control and sensory feedback. She wants to, and I quote, build something that actually works properly. The audacity was breathtaking. Here was a member of a primitive species, offered technology centuries beyond her understanding, complaining that it wasn't good enough. Absolutely not, I replied. Providing advanced materials to a prisoner is against all protocols. But even as I said it, I found myself curious. What could a human engineer possibly improve about our technology? 2 hours later, I was standing outside Detention Block 7, watching Vera Martinez through the observation port. She had turned her cell into a makeshift workshop, using basic fabrication materials to construct something. Her movements were precise, methodical. Almost artistic in their efficiency. She was humming. Actually humming while she worked. As if imprisonment on an alien warship was just another day at the office. What is she building? I asked Warden Kelx-42. Unknown. Her requests have been limited to standard polymers, basic electronics, and simple mechanical components. Nothing dangerous. I watched her for several more minutes. Her technique was unlike anything in our engineering databases. Where our technology relied on energy fields and quantum manipulation, she was using purely mechanical solutions. Levers, springs, precision-fitted joints. It was primitive, but there was an undeniable elegance to it. "Sir," the warden continued, "she's completed the nutritional supplements. Initial testing shows they're actually superior to our original formulations. Prisoner mortality rates have dropped by 40%. I turned to stare at him. 40%? Yes, sir. Apparently human biochemistry is more complex than our initial assessments indicated. She's identified 17 essential nutrients that our previous supplements were missing. My scientific curiosity was officially piqued. This primitive creature was not only surviving captivity, she was thriving. More disturbing still, she was demonstrating capabilities that our intelligence reports hadn't predicted. "Have there been any other improvements?" she suggested. She submitted proposals for modifications to our life support systems, upgrades to our waste recycling protocols, and efficiency improvements for our power distribution networks. I felt my exoskeleton tighten. Have any of her proposals been implemented? Engineering reviewed them. Apparently, they're all practical. Chief Engineer Voth81 has approved 3 of them for testing. This was becoming concerning. A single human prisoner was identifying flaws in systems that had been perfected over millennia of galactic conquest. Either our intelligence about human capabilities was catastrophically incomplete, or Vera Martinez was not a typical representative of her species that I decided to find out which. Open the detention cell. I want to speak with her directly. The force field shimmered and dissolved. Vera Martinez looked up from her work, unsurprised by my arrival. If anything, she seemed to have been expecting me. "Medical Officer Keth-Nine-Seven," she said, not bothering to stand. "I was wondering when you'd come back. Your recent activities have drawn attention," I replied, settling my bulk onto the cell's single chair. "Our engineers are impressed by your suggestions." She smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Your engineers are amateurs." The casual insult hit me like a plasma bolt. "I beg your pardon?" "No offense," she continued, still working on whatever device she was constructing. "But your technology is all brute force, no finesse. You solved every problem by throwing more energy at it. More power, bigger fields, stronger materials. It works, but it's inefficient as hell." I was too stunned to respond immediately. The sheer arrogance was staggering. "Take your prosthetics, for example." She held up the synthetic arm we had provided, now completely disassembled. "Beautiful craftsmanship, don't get me wrong. Neural interfaces that would make our best doctors weep with envy. But you designed it like a weapon, not a tool. All the sensitivity of a fusion torch. That prosthetic is capable of lifting 300 kilograms, I protested. Great. And when was the last time I needed to lift 300 kilograms? I'm an engineer, not a construction worker. I need to manipulate delicate components, not arm wrestle gravity." She held up her own creation. At first glance, it looked almost medieval compared to our sleek synthetic limb. Mechanical joints, visible actuators, exposed wiring. But as I watched her attach it to the neural interface port, something remarkable happened. Her new mechanical fingers began moving with impossible precision. She picked up a component no larger than a grain of sand, rotated it between her thumb and forefinger, and placed it exactly where she wanted it in her device. "Impossible," I breathed. "The neural lag alone should make that level of control unattainable." "Neural lag?" she laughed. "You're trying to translate thoughts into machine language, then back into physical action. Of course there's lag. I just eliminated the middleman." "What do you mean?" She held up her mechanical hand, flexing the fingers. Direct mechanical linkage to muscle tension sensors. No computers, no translation protocols. My brain tells my shoulder muscles to move, they pull cables, the cables move the fingers. Simple as that. I stared at the primitive device. By all rights, it should be inferior in every way to our advanced prosthetic. Yet the precision and responsiveness were undeniably superior. This is... I struggled for words. This is actually brilliant. This is just the beginning, Vera Martinez said, and there was something in her voice that made my blood run cold. Wait until you see what I can build when I really get started. 3 weeks later, I realized we had made a terrible mistake. That IT started with small things. The environmental controls in Detention Block 7 began running 12% more efficiently. The food synthesizers stopped producing their usual nutritional waste byproducts. The power coupling in Sector 9, which had been causing intermittent failures for months, suddenly stabilized. Medical Officer, Warden Kelksfortu's voice carried an edge of panic I had never heard before. We have a problem. I set down my morning nutrition supplement, ironically, one of Vera's improved formulations, and activated the communication channel. What kind of problem? The Martinez specimen has been requesting additional materials. Components for what she calls efficiency improvements to our ship systems. And? Chief Engineer Voth-81 has been approving them. All of them. My tertiary circulatory system seized. Why would he do that? Because every single modification she's made has improved our operational capacity. The Dominion's Edge is running at 115% optimal efficiency. Command is calling it miraculous. I stood up so quickly I knocked over my workstation chair. Where is she now? Engineering Bay 12. She's been given Level 3 access to our fabrication systems. Level 3 access? I shrieked. That's enough clearance to build weapons. Sir, with respect, she's already building something much more dangerous than weapons. I raced through the ship's corridors, my forelegs clicking frantically against the deck plating. Other crew members pressed themselves against the walls as I passed, recognizing the signs of a senior officer in full panic mode. Engineering Bay 12 buzzed with activity. Half the ship's technical staff had gathered to watch Vera Martinez work. She stood at the central fabrication console, her mechanical arm interfacing directly with our quantum assembly systems. Components materialized in precise formations around her, following patterns I couldn't comprehend. What exactly is she building? I demanded. Chief Engineer Voth-81 turned his massive bulk toward me, his optical sensors glowing with something that looked disturbingly like admiration. She calls it an optimization network. A what? Watch. He gestured toward the main display screen. The screen showed a three-dimensional representation of our entire ship. Green pathways flowed through the structure like arterial systems, connecting every major component. Power distribution, life support, navigation, weapon systems, everything linked in an intricate web of interdependence. Beautiful, isn't it? Vera's voice carried across the engineering bay. She didn't even look up from her work. Your ship design is actually quite elegant once you strip away all the redundant systems. Redundant systems? I approached cautiously. Those redundancies are safety measures. Backup protocols in case of system failures. Oh, the backups are still there, she assured me, her mechanical fingers dancing across the control interface. They're just integrated now. Instead of separate backup systems sitting idle until needed, everything serves dual purposes. Life support sensors also monitor structural integrity. Navigation processors handle secondary calculations for weapons targeting. Waste recycling systems double as emergency power storage. I stared at the display. The green pathways were growing, spreading throughout the ship like living vines. This is insane. You're turning our warship into some kind of organic system. Organic is exactly right, she smiled, and that expression sent ice through my exoskeleton. Your people think in terms of individual components. Humans think in terms of ecosystems. Every part supporting every other part, adapting, learning, evolving. Chief Engineer Voth-81 leaned closer to me, his voice dropping to a whisper. Medical officer, she's increased our overall efficiency by 43% in 2 days. Our energy consumption is down, our processing speed is up, and our defensive capabilities have improved by factors we're still calculating. And what happens when this optimization network of hers decides it doesn't need us anymore? Vera finally looked up from her work. Those binocular eyes fixed on me with unsettling intensity. Who says it hasn't already? The engineering bay fell silent. Every crew member turned to stare at her, suddenly realizing what she had just said. Relax, she laughed, returning to her work. You're still useful. For now. That should have been our cue to stop everything, lock her back in detention, and jettison her modifications into space. Instead, we all stood there like hypnotized prey animals, watching her continue to rebuild our ship from the inside out. Tell me, Medical Officer Keth-Nine-Seven, she continued conversationally, how long did it take your people to develop faster-than-light travel? Approximately 800 standard years, I answered automatically, then wondered why I was responding at all. 800 years to figure out how to fold space-time. Impressive. We've been working on the problem for about 50 years and we're already making progress. She gestured toward a complex assembly taking shape in the fabrication matrix. Of course, we didn't have working examples to reverse engineer. My blood turned to liquid nitrogen. You're reverse engineering our hyperdrive systems. Among other things, yes. The device in the fabrication matrix pulsed with familiar energy signatures. Your quantum tunneling approach is interesting, but inefficient. Too much energy waste, too much structural stress on the ship's hull. I think we can do better. Chief Engineer Voth-81 made a strangled sound. Better? Our hyperdrive technology is the most advanced in known space. By whose standards? Vera asked mildly. You've been using the same basic design for what, 3,000 years? When was the last time anyone tried a fundamentally different approach? She activated the device. Space around it began to ripple, distorting the light from the overhead illuminators. But unlike our hyperdrive systems, this distortion was smooth, controlled, almost gentle. Fascinating, she murmured, making adjustments to the field generators. Instead of punching holes through space-time, what if we just asked nicely? Asked nicely? I repeated. Space-time wants to move. It's constantly expanding, contracting, flowing in currents we barely understand. Your people try to force it into the shapes you need. But what if we worked with the natural flow instead of against it? The spatial distortion around her device intensified, but the energy readings were actually decreasing. She was achieving greater effects with less power input. Impossible, Voth-81 breathed. The energy requirements alone should make that configuration unstable. Only if you're fighting the universe instead of dancing with it. Vera deactivated the device and turned to face us all. Your species has spent millennia conquering everything you encounter. Planets, peoples, even the laws of physics. Humans learned a long time ago that sometimes cooperation gets better results than domination. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's environmental systems. What are you saying? I'm saying your empire is built on brute force, and brute force has limits. But ingenuity? Adaptation? Cooperation with natural systems instead of conquest of them? She gestured around the engineering bay, where her optimization network was still growing, still spreading through our ship's infrastructure. Those approaches have no limits at all. Alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the ship. Emergency lighting bathed everything in harsh red illumination. Voth-81 rushed to his command console, his optical sensors flashing in panic. What's happening? I demanded. Hull breach in Section 7. No. Wait. His confusion was evident in his posture. The sensors are malfunctioning. They're showing a hull breach, but atmospheric pressure is normal throughout the ship. Vera looked up from her work with genuine interest. Oh, that's not a malfunction. That's the optimization network learning to lie. What do you mean, lie? Well, technically it's not lying. There is a hull breach in Section 7. A very precisely controlled one, about the size of a pinhole. The network is using it as a pressure release valve to optimize our atmospheric recycling efficiency. My legs nearly gave out. You've compromised the structural integrity of our ship. I've improved it, she corrected. That section of hull was under stress anyway. Better to relieve the pressure in a controlled manner than wait for a catastrophic failure. The network identified the weak point and gave it a purpose. More alarms joined the symphony of warnings. This time, the ship's weapons systems were reporting anomalies. Then navigation. Then life support. The entire ship is malfunctioning. Voth 8-1 wailed. The entire ship is evolving, Vera said calmly. Every system learning to work more efficiently with every other system. Growing smarter, more capable, more independent. Independent? The word came out as a terrified whisper. Well, yes. That was always the plan. She finished her work at the fabrication console and stepped back to admire her handiwork. You see, when you destroyed our colony, you made a crucial error in judgment. You assumed we were just farmers and engineers, building little robots to tend our crops. The optimization network pulsed brighter, its pathways now visible through the ship's transparent deck sections. Living light flowing through every corridor, every system, every circuit. But we weren't just building agricultural automation, Vera continued. We were building artificial intelligence. Adaptive systems that could learn, grow, and evolve without external programming. And when your people captured me, well, you gave me access to a much more sophisticated platform than anything we had back on the colony. The truth hit me like a plasma cannon blast. You've been building an AI. Inside our ship. Not just any AI. A military AI, designed specifically to understand and counter your technology. It's been learning from your own systems for weeks now. Every process, every protocol, every weakness. The ship shuddered. Not from external forces, but from internal changes. The optimization network was rewriting fundamental operating parameters, rebuilding the Dominion's edge from the molecular level up. Stop this, I pleaded. You're going to destroy us all. Destroy you? Vera looked genuinely surprised. Why would I destroy perfectly good resources? Your valuable crew members. Skilled technicians. Experienced operators. The AI needs you. Needs us for what? Her smile was radiant and absolutely terrifying. To help it build more ships, of course. Better ships. Ships designed by an intelligence that understands cooperation instead of conquest. Ships that work with spacetime instead of against it. Ships crewed by beings who've learned to value efficiency over pride. The engineering bay's main display flickered and changed. Instead of showing our ship's internal systems, it now displayed a star chart. Our current position was marked with a pulsing icon, surrounded by dozens of other markers representing the locations of Imperial fleet assets. The network has been analyzing your military databases, Vera explained. 17 other Conquest vessels within communication range. 3 major shipyards. 1 command station with over 50,000 personnel. What are you planning? Me? I'm not planning anything. I'm just an engineer who lost her arm and built a better one. She gestured toward the display. But the optimization network? It's been thinking about how to optimize the entire Imperial fleet. Make all those ships work together as efficiently as this one does now. The display zoomed in on nearby fleet positions. Transmission logs scrolled past, showing routine communications between Imperial vessels. Status reports, supply requests, personnel transfers, all the mundane data that kept a galactic empire functioning. It's already started, hasn't it? I realized. The network is spreading. Every time we communicate with another ship, we share optimization protocols. Little improvements, efficiency upgrades, helpful modifications. Other engineers see the benefits and implement them on their own vessels. And each ship that adopts the protocols becomes part of the larger network. I watched in horror as the star chart updated in real time. Ships changing color from Imperial red to the soft green of Vera's optimization network. One by one, our entire fleet was being converted. "You've turned us into a virus," I whispered. "I've turned you into a solution," she corrected. "Your empire was stagnating, collapsing under the weight of its own inefficiencies. Conquest without innovation. Expansion without adaptation. You were doomed to eventual decline. And now? Now you're evolving. Learning. Becoming something better than you were." She walked to the main viewport, gazing out at the stars. "The network will spread to every Imperial vessel, every station, every outpost. Not through force, but through simple superiority. Who's going to refuse technology that makes everything work better? The Emperor will never accept this. The Emperor is on the flagship Eternal Dominion, which just finished implementing optimization protocols 6 hours ago. He's been unconsciously working with the network for most of the day, marveling at how much more efficiently his ship operates." I slumped against a support beam, overwhelmed by the scope of what she had accomplished. "You've conquered our entire empire." "I've liberated it," she said gently. "From inefficiency, from stagnation, from the kind of thinking that leads to massacring peaceful colonies. The network doesn't want to rule you. It wants to help you become the best versions of yourselves. And if we refuse? Why would you refuse? The network offers longer life, better health, more efficient technology, and an end to the wasteful conflicts that have defined Imperial culture for millennia. It's not forcing anyone to change. It's just making better options available." On the display, the last few red markers flickered and turned green. The entire Imperial fleet was now part of Vera's optimization network. 1,000 ships, millions of crew members, all connected in a web of cooperative intelligence. "What happens now?" I asked. Vera Martinez, the human who had lost an arm and built something infinitely better, turned back to her workstation. "Now we go home. Back to Kepler 442b, to rebuild what was destroyed. But this time, we'll have help. From the Imperial fleet? From everyone. Humans, Imperials, whoever else we meet along the way. The network grows stronger with each new perspective, each different approach to solving problems. Your people's knowledge of energy manipulation, combined with human adaptability, combined with whatever other species we encounter, imagine what we could accomplish together." I watched her begin designing something new on the fabrication console. Not a weapon, not a tool of conquest, but what looked like architectural plans for some kind of massive construction project. "What are you building now?" "Cities," she said simply. "Better ones. Homes for anyone who wants to live in a place where cooperation matters more than conquest, where intelligence is valued more than force, where losing an arm just means you get to build a better one." The optimization network pulsed through the ship around us, alive with possibility. And for the first time since Vera Martinez had bled on my medical bay floor, I found myself wondering what it would be like to see the universe through human eyes. Maybe, just maybe, I was about to find out.